Testing, testing. One, two, three. Hello, good morning, everybody. How are you today? Today we'll be talking about a very special topic, very dear to my heart. It's about ESG. Now, ESG is a very hot topic recently, and maybe you've heard your coworkers, your bosses, your superiors, your friends, family talk about ESG even. Who knows? But ESG is a very important topic to everyone, not because just for your company, but also for NGOs and governments, because all it relates to climate change and how we make an impact for the environment and for society and for our organizations themselves. I'm Dr. Kevin Ho from i-Chem Solution, and I'm an ESG consultant. I'm the ESG expert at my company, and today I'd like to share with you some things about ESG. So without further ado, let's get started. So today, there are two learning objectives that I would like to share with you all so that by the end of today's presentation, these two learning objectives will be covered. The first learning objective is by the time all of you step out of that room today, you will know how to define what is ESG. Number two, you will be able to explain the importance of yourselves here in this room, in the water industry in Malaysia, how you play a part in ESG for your customers, for your own company. Now, I want you all to turn to your neighbor at your side, shake their hand, and say, "You are important for ESG." Turn to your neighbor, please. Oh, you have no neighbor. If you have a neighbor, turn to your neighbor, shake their hand, and say, "You are important in the field of ESG in the water industry." And pat yourself on the back, on the shoulder. Say, "I'm important." Okay. So these are learning objectives. So first of all, what even is ESG? Now, I'd like to ask how many in this room already know or are already experts in ESG? Please raise your hand. Experts. Usually, when I give these talks at these expos, there are already a few people talking about ESG. I'm quite surprised in the roster of speakers. I'm the only one talking about ESG in the whole Asia Water, I think. Anyone here already an expert in ESG? Okay, nobody, Then please raise your hand if you don't know anything about ESG. Also raise your hand. Ah, wow. Okay, you don't know. It's okay. It's okay. No harm, no foul. A lot of people still don't know what is ESG, and that's why I'm here today. So you can lay your fears to rest. I'll explain exactly what ESG. First, I'll tell you what ESG is not. Okay, so many people have naive beliefs that ESG is about saving the world, something very grand. It's about making impact for the environment, which is true, or it's about some lofty ideals, like curing cancer, saving the world, ending world hunger, giving all your company's money to charity CSR projects. I'm here to tell you it's not about that. Okay, it is for on the government level saving the world, stopping climate change, true. But on an individual business level, for your organization, you bring it down to earth. Your one company cannot save the world by itself. So what does ESG mean for your company? So I'm here to tell you it's not about all of these things. Okay, what's ESG then? ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance factors. Three things only. So environmental factors refer to your company's impact on the environment, and social factors refer to your company's impact on society. Makes sense. And governance factors refers to your organization's impact on itself. Because governance here, the governance factors refers to governance of the company itself. Make sense? So ESG is basically a business metric, just like your company's cash flow statement, your company's balance sheet, the company's profit and loss statement, income statement. They show the growth of your company to investors and bankers in terms of your financial aspects. Your cash flow statement shows your growth of your company in terms of how good the cash flow is. Your profit and loss statement shows to investors and the bankers how good your company's growth in terms of the profits, profit margins, and so on. And the balance sheet shows how many assets your company is growing in terms of. So just like all of these financial statements, the ESG statement or the ESG report shows the bankers and the investors how much growth your company has in terms of the non-financial aspects, such as I mentioned, the impact to the environment, the impact to society, the impact to the governance of the company itself. So why is this important? Anyone can guess. Why is it important? Sustainability. Very good answer. Very good answer. Everybody please clap. Sustainability. Very key buzzword. And for that, I give you this present for me. I'll explain what it is later. Okay, so this is what ESG is like in a nutshell. Let's go into a bit more detail. So what should be in a company's ESG report for sustainability's sake? Your company needs to show their bankers and investors in the ESG report certain things under the E pillar, S pillar, and the governance pillar. So under the E pillar, we show in your ESG report how you reduce your carbon emissions to the atmosphere. We show how you reduce your energy usage, electricity usage. We show the bankers and investors how you're reducing your water or reusing your water, recycling your water, how you're using water more efficiently. And we show the bankers and investors in your ESG report how you're reducing your waste that you produce, or whether you're recycling the waste, even better, or how you're using less materials. So you notice under the E pillar, you reduce, use less, reduce. All of these things are a good thumbs up for your company. When you're saving natural resources, reducing your usage of natural resources, you're reusing, you're recycling, it's a good sign for your company. And under the social pillar, also very important. So in your ESG report, the data that you present, you need to talk about whether your company is taking care of the human rights issues. I remember a few years ago, at the height of the pandemic, when the rubber glove industry should have been at its peak, you know what happened to Top Glove? They were banned from US exports markets. Why? Because international organizations had alleged that they have been abusing their foreign workers. So it falls under this S of ESG, the human rights and labor standards. So they were not allowed to export to US because of allegations of wrongdoing in the S ESG. So brings the idea home lah. It's very important to business, your bottom line. So, and we also talk about in your ESG report, employee management. How well you manage your employees. Do you give them a proper salary? Do you give them a chance for promotion? And that DEI is a big topic as well. How diverse, how equitable your company is, or maybe you only want to hire Indians, you don't want to hire Malay and Chinese, something like that, you know. But all of us, I think we're all very equitable nowadays. We're all very diverse. Occupational safety and health. How many percentage of your workers are trained in what to do in case there's a workplace accident? And you must report how many workplace accidents in the last 3 years or last 5 years, depending on which standard you're following. And talk about CSR, community engagement. Many people ask me, what's the difference between, Dr. Kevin, what's the difference between CSR and ESG? I always tell them CSR is a part of ESG. It's a part under the S of ESG. That's the thing. So CSR is not the whole thing of ESG, but it's a part of ESG. Everyone understand? Okay. So that's S. So 5 things in E, I told you, 5 things in S. Now I'll tell you about the 5 things in G. So in your ESG report, you talk about how well your company is governed. If you have a board of directors, how many independent directors, how many dependent directors. And then you talk about how well your company has enacted certain policies. It can be the saving electricity policy, for example. When everyone's out from the office, everyone make sure all the lights off, all the aircons off. These are policies that make your company better. Or whistleblowing policies, or anti-corruption policies, any kind of policy, or anti-sexual harassment policies, any policy that makes your workplace safer and better, all fall under the G. And risk reporting and management, how well your company identifies the risk to your business, physical, transitional risk, and how your company plans to manage these risks. And also, anti-corruption is a very important part of governance. One NDB. Did I say more? Customer data and privacy as well, cybersecurity, all very important. So my question to all of you now is, all of you here, which do you think is the most relevant to you all of all of these 15 things? What's the name of this exhibition? Asia Water. That's right. For all of you here, you're all playing a very important role in the water industry in Malaysia. And that's why, to your customers, you are actually playing a role in their water management. Whether your company is making the valves, making the water filters, or anything related to water, the water is taken from the natural resources, goes to you, and then goes to the customer, and then goes back to Mother Nature. So the water goes and comes around, and all of us play our part in water management. So in Malaysia, there are three standards for reporting ESG that are very widely used. GRI, Global Reporting Initiatives, TCFD, Task Force for Climate-Related Financial Disclosures, and the ISSB, International Sustainability Standards Board, IFRS S1 and S2. So these are the three most prominent standards, aka formats that you write your ESG report. Your ESG report you can write in many different ways, according to your consultants, according to whoever you're paying to write your ESG report. Just like how when you write your essay, when you write a letter, formal letter, informal letter, you follow a standard format, right? Like, do you put your address above? Or do you put their address above? I can't remember. Do you draw a line? Do you put the date? Right? You follow a format. So just like when you write your ESG report, you also follow a format. International standardized formats recognized internationally around the world. So these are the formats that Malaysia uses. In Singapore, they use something like SASB sometimes. Another format, honorable mention, is the SEDG in Malaysia, but only aim at SMEs, the Simplified ESG Disclosure Guidelines. So these are, why I'm telling you this is because I'm about to go into some of these standard formats to explain to you what your customers are reporting in the ESG report that you can help them with. So let's take a look at GRI. Remember, GRI is number one, the most widely used standard for ESG reporting, Global Reporting Initiatives. So this is GRI 303, how the standards and guidelines, they require you to report on water and effluents according to the 2018 edition. So let's take a look. So they tell you to report on your interactions with water as a shared resource and how you manage water-related discharge impacts, and talk about your water withdrawal, your water discharge, and your water consumption. So this is what they write in GRI 303. So just a background of the topic to give you a sense of the importance of water management in ESG. So I'm just going to read. This standard addresses the topic of water and effluents. Access to fresh water is essential for human life and well-being. Essential, and is recognized by the UN as a human right. The SDGs, or Sustainable Development Goals, adopted by the UN as part of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, include key targets related to sustainable water management under Goal 6. These targets aim, for example, to achieve universal access to safe and affordable drinking water, improve water quality, and address water scarcity. Can you feel the impact of the words here, the importance of water management in a country? When your organization's taking care of one aspect, maybe even if it's a small aspect of the water industry, you are playing a part in ESG. So the amount of water withdrawn and consumed by an organization and the quality of the discharges can impact the functioning of the ecosystem in numerous ways. Direct impacts on the catchment can have wider impacts on the quality of life in the area, blah, blah, blah. Okay, since water is a shared resource and water-related impacts are localized, organizations are being encouraged to prioritize action is in areas of water stress, understand and respond to local contexts, including local social and environmental impacts, and aim to benefit and respect the needs of priorities of all water users, and align their approaches and collective actions with other water users. Okay, so this gives you a sense of the importance of your role in the water industry. So they go on to tell you what to actually report in your ESG report. So you have to describe how your organization interacts with water, how water is withdrawn, consumed, and then discharged. And then you've got to describe the approach used to identify the water-related impacts. And then you've got to describe how the water-related impacts are addressed and managed. Then you've got to explain how the process for setting your water-related goals and KPIs and targets are part of your organization's approach to managing water and effluents. Sounds very boring, but all of these things are the things that you are helping your customers with their ESG report. So after you exit this room, you cannot say, oh, my company has nothing to do with ESG, because you're actually playing a very vital role for your customers' ESG report under the water management section. Now remember, when they are writing their ESG report, they are reporting a lot of things. You are the specialist for water. You are helping them in some aspect. Okay. The reason why I'm sharing all of you this is because international standards it's not me who created all of this. Internationally recognized standards dictate that people write the ESG reports based on these certain things. And if your company can help your customers or yourselves fulfill these criteria, you're actually playing a role in the ESG ecosystem in Malaysia, in the water industry in Malaysia. Very important role. So I'd like to stop here for a while. Any questions so far? Any? No questions? No brave soul? Okay, then I'll just continue. Okay. How much time do I have left? Okay. Okay. So if you got to report your total withdrawn, your total yeah, and then what kinds of water you're withdrawing from, whether it's fresh water or groundwater and so on. And then you've got to break down into the quantities. You've got to talk all about numerical values. Okay. Okay. This is all GRI lah, the most widely used reporting standard for ESG. Let's look at another standard. How about SASB? What are our neighbors in Singapore using? Sustainable Accounting Standards Board. So they also, SASB is very special. They ask you to report your ESG based on your sector. So if you are from the oil and gas sector and somebody else in the audience is from the manufacturing sector, they don't report on the same things. Like if someone is from the insurance sector, you're not required to report on water. But if you're from the manufacturing industry, yes, you're required to report on water based on SASB. The differences in the standards, this is one of the differences I'm telling you about. So what does SASB talk about? The entity shall disclose the amount of water in thousands of cubic meters withdrawn from all sources. They talk about water withdrawal as well. Number two, the entity may disclose portions of its supply by source. For example, significant portions of withdrawals are from non-fresh water sources. We also saw this in GRI. Basically, you will see most of these things, all of these things are the same with all the standards when it comes to water. You talk about water withdrawn, water consumed, and water discharge. Excuse me. Apologies, I don't have the energy because I'm a bit down with the weather. But what I make up for is my lack of energy. I make up for with my good looks. Uh, who thinks I'm good looking? Please raise. Please continue breathing oxygen. Yes, yeah, yeah, sure. I'll send it to you later. Who thinks I'm not handsome? You can stop breathing oxygen indefinitely. I'm just joking. Okay, so these are what the standards tell you for your customers to report on the ESG, so that you know how to help your customers when they. So you have some linkage like your business and their ESG report, just to give you the idea. So what does this all mean for you at Asia Water 2024? As part of the water industry in Malaysia, all of you players, as long as you help your customers in somehow or some way boost water efficiency for your customers, you help to preserve the natural water resources in some way, you help them reduce their water consumption, reduce their water discharge, and you help them maybe recycle wastewater, very good. You help them reduce the leakage in wastewater from wastage of water. Maybe you design very good pipes and high pressure valves, and you enhance the quality of the water discharge or any other related water benefits your company can bring to your customers. You're basically helping them with their management, water management in ESG. So Q&A, second Q&A. Any questions before I move on? Hi.
I want to know if what is the implementation rate of this ESG in especially SMEs in Malaysia? Are you aware of the statistics?
Very good question. I don't have the exact statistics with me, but I can see because my company actually aims to provide consultancy for SME companies. By the way, after this, if any SME companies need any ESG consultancy, you can come to my booth. We're over there, i-Chem Solution. But going back to your question, I love your question because the question is about SMEs. Yes. Most of the country now is focused on PLC, public listed organizations, the big boys. And we've kind of not yet, we've forgotten about our SME players, which make up the bulk of our industry. So our PLCs already forced to adopt ESG. Main market by this year, next year, ACE market. So they've already started the process at least lah. SME companies, I don't have the exact figures, but I can see the uptake maybe 5%, 5% SMEs. Yeah, my guess 5 to 10, 10 is
maybe
high
it can
estimate
be
lah.
contributed to the lack of awareness
Yes, I
and
believe so.
cost as well.
I believe so. It's two things lah, lack of awareness and also lack of necessity.
Yes.
Yeah, because public listed companies, hook or by crook, if you don't get your ESG report done, the SC is going to come after you. Bursa is going to find trouble with you. So public listed companies, they have to necessity, and they also have a lot of awareness, because they've got access to the big four auditing companies. The big auditing companies already are training them in how to manage ESG and so on. SME companies, we actually do have some support. I mentioned one. Is the SEDGs. Where is, the SEDGs were created by an offshoot of Capital Markets Malaysia, the offshoot of Securities Commission, Capital Markets Malaysia. They simplified ESG disclosure guidelines. This is an aim for making ESG disclosures for SMEs very easy and simple to understand. So you can follow these guidelines if SMEs want to publish their ESG report. It's just a simplified ESG report. Yeah. Thank you for the question. I love the question. Any more questions? Yes.
Hello.
Yes. Hi.
I want to ask something about ESG.
Yes.
So, is there any regulatory body who actually verify what people write there is true or not? Because there's a lot of cases linking ESG with greenwashing. Maybe Volkswagen, yeah, they cheat on their diesel release, CO2 release on their diesel engine. So, is still, I would like to ask, is this ESG still relevant or not in the modern business?
Very good question. So your question is, just to reiterate, it's concerning greenwashing and the authenticity of ESG reports. Now, ESG reports, when a company comes out with the ESG report, it's basically an internal ESG report. So if you want to verify the authenticity of the data, of the numbers, of the pie charts, the number, the graphs, the actual numbers, like a company says in the year 2024, we've reduced 200 metric tons of carbon dioxide emissions. Who's to say they're wrong? Who's going to verify? I'll tell you who's going to verify. It's anyone who with an auditing license. It could be the Big Four, KPMG, or other auditing companies. It could be Serum even. So all of these are called third-party assurance. So if you want to get your ESG report done, you just need an internal report for now. The government does not require most companies to issue third-party assurance. But if you want to go the extra mile, you want to show your investors and bankers, we really mean what we do mean when we write an ESG report. We really reduce 200 metric tons of carbon dioxide. You want to prove it, you get third-party assurance. And it can be for anyone. It can be from the auditors, it can be from Serum even. Yeah. Hope that answers your question. And as for greenwashing, greenwashing is a very rampant thing going on now because everyone is jumping onto the ESG bandwagon. They say, "Oh, my company is green. Can you prove it?" That's the question. So if you really want to prove it, you go for third-party assurance, and there are even standards for assurance. Uh, so, uh, good question. Thank you very much. Any more questions? Maybe one more question. Yes. Hello.
Hello. Yeah. I would like to know how this ESG is working to the alignment of the UN Sustainability Development.
The UN SDGs, Oh, good question as well. Because people get confused. The United Nations kind of started the ESG movement. It all started with a report called Who Wins Cares, Who Cares Wins, sorry, by the United Nations. They set it up. And for the most part, the United Nations, they in 2016, they set up the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. And also this ESG is also kind of by the United Nations. So they got confused. SDGs, ESG, what's the difference? Right? Yeah. The difference is SDGs are they are more broad and encompassing. There are 17 sustainable development goals and they are more focused at government level efforts, I would say. Whereas ESG are things that individual companies can follow and report on based on metrics and numerical targets. So whereas SDGs are very broad and don't need to be really quantified, you can actually bridge the gap by including in your ESG report for your company, including the alignment with the SDG goals. There is overlap. They're both about sustainability. I like your question. Thank you. So does that answer your question? Okay. Okay. So I think we're running out of time. If any more questions, you can see me after this or come to my booth later. Okay. So I hope we've met all the learning objectives for you all today. So when you step out of this room, you can define meaning of ESG and you can explain the importance of yourself as a key player in the water industry in Malaysia and how you play a role in the ESG management for your customers, especially. So congratulations, because you are all very important in the water industry. Give yourselves a clap. Good job. I'd like to share with you a few words. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at also will change. By Wayne Dyer. Thank you very much.